done a lot of the work in helping to bring this together. As many of you know, USIP has been working in Sudan, in South Sudan, for almost as long as USIP has existed, so over 30 years. And it's a place where it really exemplifies, I think, our mission and what we try to do, which is at two levels. On the first hand, trying to inform and improve the way that the United States and other international partners understand conflicts and respond to them to give the best chance to end violence and for sustainable peace. But the other part of our work, which I think in many ways is the more inspiring work, is to support activists and to support peace builders who are doing their best to find ways to bridge divides in their communities, to promote inclusion in the various peace processes that are taking place, to strengthen security in their communities, and ultimately to lead the change that has to happen in their countries in order for peace to exist. And I think that this dialogue program is really a wonderful example where we've had an opportunity to partner with a group of people who came to us with an idea, who acknowledged and identified that it wasn't just people in the country who were impacted by the terrible violence that's taken place in South Sudan and the divisions that continue, and who came up with a plan to try to bring people together here and to provide leadership for what needs to happen inside of the country. So I do want to start by saying a huge congratulations to everybody who has been part of that effort, including my colleagues who are here in the room. Our colleague Allison is joining us online and was involved in the training, and to all of you who have participated in it. We're also joined today by members of a working group that we convene, and this is a group that comes together to try to better understand what's happening in South Sudan and to better think through how we as international partners can engage. We hold our meetings under Chatham House rule, so that means that what is said cannot be attributed to any person, and the idea is to provide space for frank and honest dialogue, in the spirit of dialogue, which I know David is going to talk about a little bit further. And I do want to also welcome all of our guests. I think everybody here is either as a South Sudanese citizen or as a friend of South Sudan, including some of our ambassadors and former ambassadors, but we're glad to have you here in your role supporting, as well as leaders of other political groups. But everybody being here in their personal capacity, I think is incredibly important for the spirit of the dialogue. So let me stop there and introduce David, who will take us through the next step in the program.
Thank you, Susan, and welcome to USIP working group members. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Allison. Allison was our trainer, so we are joined today by South Sudan Ambassador to Washington, D.C., Honorable Philip Leder. We also, next to him, we have Honorable Atem Garang, who is the former Deputy Speaker of Sudan and South Sudan, and a current Member of Parliament. And beside him, we have the first South Sudan Ambassador to Washington, Dr. Akej Koch, who is also a familiar member to USIP. And on that side, we have Brother Dr. Isaac Gem, who is a special representative of SPLMIO to Washington, D.C. We have in our audience here members of the South Sudanese community leaders, as well as members of the facilitating team for the South Sudanese Diaspora Dialogue, and also people from the areas where we have done the Diaspora Dialogue who are here to share their experience. So quickly for the USIP working group, I can just highlight a little bit the first session that you missed. And what we discussed in the first sessions at the Diaspora Dialogue is we presented two questions. The question number one is the issue of the use of social media in our community. As South Sudanese in the diaspora before and after 2013. And we discussed that, and during our discussion, what has emerged in our discussion is that social media could actually be used in a positive way. Before the 2013 crisis, it was used for promoting our culture, and it was also used for communicating and also for business, for entrepreneurs South Sudanese. But then after the crisis of 2013, some element in our community started using social media to post negative pictures, like the pictures of dead people and what have you. So we, in our discussion, encourage that as a community leaders, we should encourage our people to use social media like Facebook, focusing on good community standards, and to try to discourage those bad community standards when it comes to use of social media. So we discussed that. The second question we discussed was, what role should we as the diaspora contribute to the process of the peace process in South Sudan? What is our level of contribution, and to what impact can we bring? And in the discussion, what transpired in the discussion is that we as the diaspora need to unite ourselves and be able to support peace in a way that it will be sustainable. So for those who are using, tearing down the peace agreement, or those who are objecting to peace, we need to find a way as a diaspora to talk and say that our message is that maybe we silence the gun first, bring peace, and then what other issues like accountability of atrocities will be following after that, since there is also an establishment of a hybrid court in the peace agreement. So those are some of the things that we have discussed before we go at. So the second session, which you are part of it, is that we wanted to for you to hear from members of the diaspora from which the dialogue has actually taken place. And instead of us facilitators or the USIP sharing their experience, we should give opportunity to those members so that they can share their experience before the dialogue was brought into their community and after the dialogue, and what other changes do they see emerge from the evidence of having had the diaspora dialogue. So the first dialogue was conducted in Phoenix, Arizona, and we have a delegation from Arizona. And for that, I'll give a 3-minute time to Brother Jan Deng, who is going to speak on behalf of Arizona team.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Good afternoon. Simply the first, United States, the Grand Canyon State is always we hosted many. Many events in the past, and we always post a shot for things that we do over there. So let me get into the when we got called from the team. So first thing on my head was, oh Jesus, this is going to be tough, because we used to be the heart of the United Front for South Sudanese in the United States. So, celebration, we used to have so many people that who turn out so much all the time, every time we put event up and running. So number one was the long was the Sudan Center Foundation within Arizona. With we run it real well, so that's how we bring people, because people always get some services as they come from the resettlement agency. So that time was really good. And then later on, the community fund that alone has everyone get to know what they need, what the need was. So when we call up the community after 2013 war, it was here where the community used to be together all the time. Then all of a sudden, nobody was even talking to each other at all. I mean, literally, when you see, it's like almost if they have worked on that time, I think people will just go back to revenge. This is how hard for me to work that. When before that, everybody always come together, and we were wonderful. We celebrated all the stuff. So when we call the meeting that we're gonna have a peace dialogue, some people were elected, as we all know, as the Southern Sudanese. They were having some skeptical, but at the same time they wanted to participate. So, but what sold their heart and bring their heart, it was because the people that who trusted in the community order been done the work, like myself, Dan Atem, and others that we have in Arizona. We weren't calling this them to come together for this. So one of the things I learned was, because we done so much already in the past. So now the whole reason why these people are going to participate because they trust in me, not because of the peace dialogue. And that's one of the things that we really see was coming along, because if the community member is not being influential in that community, it's really tough to bring people together. Because this is one of the big challenges that really the community really go through. So we managed to bring over 100 people, and after the fact, David and his team and our team did a great job, did a wonderful job bringing this discussion up. So we were supposed to follow. So some people missed they missed the dialogue on that day. They're like, "When is the next one is going to come?" And we have people also in the neighborhood about other area that they didn't make it from Tucson, Arizona. So after they hear this was happening, now they're all calling us. How come you guys didn't tell us? Because we would take the buses over to Phoenix. So. So the reaction afterward, we are meeting as a team, and we even evaluate and what could we do better, what we can really work on, and everyone agreed in our group was, we want this to happen again, and this time we're gonna make sure we invite the neighbor, the California, the Utah, the Texas, and whatever have you, to come in here or do it in their area to bring this meeting back in. So we become like people calling us, even right now we're sitting here, they're calling us, if they did this discussion, it's online, can we follow, and things like that. So what I can conclude is this. We want, particularly the people in Arizona, we want this to continue. I don't know how you guys are going to come up with the funds and all this stuff. We need to make it happen. So the people who did not get involved in the beginning need to get involved so we can do the work on it.
Thank you, Judge Tim. The next person that will have the floor is Fatima Giwa, who is representing the Minnesota delegation.
Thank you, David. I come from Rochester, Minnesota, a community that has a large number of South Sudanese. Prior to 2013, we had a community that was a very happy community. People were together as one South Sudanese community. We did all kinds of events as one people. Coming to comprehensive peace agreement, coming to voting. We worked with churches, we worked with different places to get buses to go to our voting location, which was in Nebraska. We succeeded in everything as one Sudanese community, strong and one. After 2013, the community has divided. The community, people who were friends are no longer friends. Many people don't come together as they did. People have created non-denominational churches and stuff, separating themselves, isolating themselves. In October last year is when David called me with this program of the dialogue. I was very busy somewhere else that I wasn't able to come for the facilitator training. But I told him, from what you have explained to me, it has warmed my heart. I'll do anything to be a part of it. So when the Minnesota dialogue came up, the facilitator in Minnesota, David and all of them, engaged me into it. The dialogue, of course, many people were suspicious. With the Trump community, they're like, who's doing it? Who are they? Who are they with? some who could buy into the idea came to the dialogue. So the dialogue was successful. The dialogue was not what some people thought it would be. It would be maybe an argument back and forth, but it wasn't. It was a dialogue that would really benefit the community. After the dialogue, we are left with groundwork that we are still doing that will need a follow-up with the theme of this dialogue because there is healing. There are people coming together, asking questions. Things that we wanted to see from the dialogue is coming out now. My 3 minutes is up. I thank USIP for the opportunity of giving us South Sudanese. Thank you.
The next person will be Brother Kong to speak on the Nebraska, Iowa, Kansas City dialogue.
Thank you, David. As David mentioned, my name is Kong Quizmar. I came from Minnesota. I can briefly speak on regard of the May 3rd peace dialogue in Omaha, Nebraska. In Omaha, Nebraska, the dialogue was conducted. People were turned up, but as other people mentioned, myself, I used to be an executive director of South Sudanese Community Association in Omaha, Nebraska. We resettled a lot of people, including the lost boys of South Sudan and Sudan. I was a community leader. Everybody know me regarding of the tribes. But after December 2013, the community turned out to be a violent community that people are not even talking to each other because of what happened back home. And it's still up to today because the war is still going on, the killing is still going on, people are not talking to each other. So it came out to be that, what can we do? When David initiated the program for the South Sudanese Diaspora dialogue, people were very skeptical. Who is David? Is David from which tribe? Is he a Dinka, Noor, or Equatorial? People found out that David is from Dinka. Me, I'm a Noor. I'm here also representing the Noor community, Development Service. So Noor community members are very skeptical to attend the dialogues because it happened that David is from Dinka community. But we managed to send the information that the dialogue that we do here is not what is happening at the national dialogue back home. Because people are trying to make them, connect them together. The one in Juba and the one is here, the same, but not the same. So we give the information to people that it is not the same. You guys need to turn up, we need to talk. Why we need to talk is that to encourage face-to-face discussion among community members so that we can send right, peaceful information back home. And with us being together here is what can make also people back home to be together. There is a peace agreement now that is being implemented, even not yet implemented. They need us, they need the community here. And what I can say is that as Susan asked that what is the international partners could do for this community here in the United States. I believe you can do a lot of things. You can increase the funding for this dialogue to reach out to part of the South Sudanese community across the United States, particularly in Midwestern states. where we have a North community, like North community members, which they are still skeptical because they are requesting that the accountability is not there. How can people who committed crime be accountable for what happened in 2013 and up to now? But this cannot prevent us from talking or sitting down together. We can be talking together to have mutual understanding and also have harmony as we used to have. We used to have in Omaha, Nebraska, that we contain large South Sudanese community, up to 30,000 South Sudanese community in Omaha, Nebraska. Before we used to rent a big hall, that's even some people that stand outside. But right now, each community do their own stuff, and the rest of the community are not attending because people are having hatred inside it themselves because they don't want to see. I don't want to see Bianca because they killed my 7 family members back in 2013, 2014. But I cannot bring them back. But what I can do is to make sure that the rest who are alive are going to survive. If the war continues, the rest will die. Community and Dinka community and also North community. We're going to lose a lot of people. But what we need to do is to make sure that the program is continued. I would ask David, Susan, and whoever funding this program to continue or increase the funding so that we have more dialogues in the Midwestern state where we have a large number of South Sudanese. I would like to have 2 more in Omaha, including Minnesota and South Dakota and Kansas, Missouri and Iowa. If we have the funding, we can make sure that the community is coming together. The North community leadership need to have right information. They even is skeptical. The leadership itself, the chairman of the North Community Development Service, who is the chairman, who is the elected chairman of the North community in the United States. He was the one who appointed me to be here. He wanted me to understand that I will report back to him what I see here. And for us to continue, I want him also to be involved. Because they think that this money is coming from Juba. People think that this money is coming from Juba. And we don't want to, I don't want to lie to them that the money is coming from the United States government if I don't see the white people here. So I make sure that this is because, you know, North community is being targeted in 2013. People are getting killed. I was there. I was a survivor. I was there. I was this because my time to die did not come. I was there also in day 1 fighting. I went back with Dr. Rip in 2016, and I was there in the fighting in 2016. But my time also did not come to die at that time. For me to reach out to my Dinka community, I want this dialogue to continue. And I want to tell my story of how I survived and how the other people survived that war. And how we can continue to maintain this peace so that our people cannot suffer the way they are suffering right now. People are being displaced. People are internally displaced into in the country. So that how can they come out from the UN camps? So we need to start the dialogue there. Because the social media, I can speak on a video right now telling people from my hometown, oh, this guy, the government force is coming to attack you now. But instead of government force is not attacking them, The government, the IO force that is that told they will go and attack the government force because they think that my information is correct. How can we contain this social media? It's through this dialogue. And I would appeal to whoever funding this dialogue to think about continuing of this dialogue and reach out to other ethnic communities, leadership. And thank you.
Thank you. For the remaining 2 minutes, let me just say that I'm glad you brought that up because one of the things that we had to do as a team was to get USIP to write a letter that said this money did not come from Juba because we had a meeting where one of the participants said that the money was sent from Juba to USIP and then USIP give you the money. I need a proof that there is no connection. So the proof was the letter. So I delivered the letter, and that person, after he saw the letter, he participated and became one of the most productive members in the dialogue. So the trust building, the social fabric is totally broken. And what we were trying to do is just to try to set it in motion in a very small, capacity we have, but the trust is totally broken. And that person who demanded the letter is now one of the people watching online because he couldn't make it. So at this time, we will do this as an open session, a Q&A. You can, Susan, maybe you can clarify, but I think you can direct a question to the member of the working group, or you can ask something for our members of the working group and ask this, the participant of the dialogue. We can do that. So Susan, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, and thanks to those who shared the experience in the dialogue. I think what we hope today is that we get a better feel for what it is that you've done, what you've achieved so far, and what you want to do going forward. So what I'm going to suggest is that we go around and that those who are members of the working group in a broad sense introduce themselves so you have a sense of who is in the room. And I suggest we start with questions from people who are not involved in the dialogue program about what you've done and to learn more about the details. But then we also reserve some time for a conversation. So if there are things that are on your minds that you'd like to know, we can open that up. Before I do that, I want to acknowledge and thank our colleagues from the Office of the Special Envoy for Sudan and South Sudan. Most of our work in South Sudan and Sudan is done in partnership with the Department of State. And they were the ones who were very excited about this project. This is the first time that we've worked with them on something that's being in the United States. And I think it's one of the first instances where we've done this type of dialogue work with diaspora communities at USIP more broadly. So you're breaking new ground. You're setting an example for similar challenges that other countries and communities in conflict also face. But we're really grateful to the Department of State for supporting that and really recognizing that there's a connection between what happens here in the U.S. with the South Sudanese community and what happens in the country. And that can be a connection for peace, or it can be a connection for conflict and violence. I think we've started to maybe turn that corner a little bit. So why don't we make our way around, and those who are invited as part of the working group can just introduce themselves and their organization, and then we'll do some questions. Can you start? You're first.
My name is Ola Mahajer, and I'm program manager for Sudan and South Sudan here at USIP.
Karina Sanders, can you use the microphone so that these folks can?
I can. Karina Sanders, I'm the Deputy Director for South Sudan, and I'm very pleased to be here, and I look forward to meeting all of you. I'm Piper Jano. I actually have the privilege of interning in the Special Envoy's Office at the State Department for South Sudan this summer.
Hi, my name is Alice Schwartz, and I am with Peace Tech Lab, working on hate speech programs.
And I'll just mention that I think everybody is familiar with the monitoring of hate speech research that USIP does. I think it was part part of what was integrated into the dialogue program, but the idea was to try to connect some of those pieces together.
Hi, I'm Andrea Freeman. I'm with USAID's Sudan and South Sudan office. I apologize profusely for being so late and sleeping quietly. I have very many questions for all of you, but I'll park those for later. So I'll be here. Thank you.
I'm Ambassador Dane Smith, and am on board of the American Friends of the Episcopal Church of the Sudanese.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Carolyn Greco from Crisis Action. We're working on a campaign in South Sudan for protection of civilians in conflict. Hi, I'm Rachel Everett. I'm also with Crisis Action.
Hi, my name is Erin Zamora. I'm here on behalf of NAMES Urempa, and both of us work in the program on nonviolent action here at USAID.
Can hear you. We can't hear you.
I'm Ailey Morgan. I'm on the South Sudan team here at USAID.
Allison, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I don't know if the video is working, but I'm Allison Malofsky. I'm zooming in from Kiev. I'm the Director of Curriculum and Training Design at USAID.
Thank you for joining us. I know it's late where you are.
I'm happy to be part of it.
Yeah, great. Okay, well, why don't we open it up for initial questions, comments. I know Andrea has some, so we should find a way for you to come to the table. There's a spot over here, not you, really put on the spot. There's one right here.
So coming from the perspective of being at the student for the last few weeks, how do you think it would be most helpful that the U.S. government, outside of USAID, since you guys have done so much, could best engage with the South Sudanese diaspora of the United States? What ways do you think that, say, the State Department could work more closely within your communities to get your message out and to unite people together?
Okay, so what we can do is that, so we'll take 3 questions, and I'm not going to assume that I know the answer, so we will, if you have the answer as to how best can the State Department and the South Sudanese diaspora work together, then you will answer that question. So let's take 2 more, and then, 2 more questions and then answer. Andreas, okay. And make sure you write down the question when you want, if you want to say something about it. Go ahead.
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
Again, my name is Andrea Freeman. I'm with USAID here in Washington. We've been working on South Sudan for a number of years now. My question to the whole group, I've met some of you maybe. I've met many diaspora over the years, and I think one of the themes that over time that I heard is some people are familiar with USAID is doing, some people are not. So it's a very basic sort of baseline kind of question. I think a lot of people are under the assumption that because of the conflict, that the donors have left. And so my message is the donors have not left. We are very much there. We're doing a lot of things that are outside the humanitarian sphere. And I think a lot of people think that the only ones who are there are the emergency people. And I want to assure you that there is a large community of donors that are working on longer term issues and looking to the future, right? They're not sort of in the now. They're doing the now, but also looking towards the future and looking at building the capacity of South Sudanese and building the resilience of South Sudanese. So I guess my larger comment is, first I wanted to sort of sense from the room, are people generally familiar with what we're doing? And if we're not, if you are not, then we're not doing with that. So at the risk of sharing my email with 80 people that will then share it with 80 people, but I think that the idea is, I think we need, first of all, everybody more educated about what people are doing in South Sudan in terms of the funding and the activities and the interest level, because I think there's a narrative out there that the people have abandoned South Sudan and forgotten South Sudan. So my first message is, actually no. There's a lot of us here in South Sudan getting gray hair because of South Sudan. And so it's important that people understand that we care and that we are very involved, and even though we're very far away. And we have people on the ground who live these issues every day, working alongside South Sudanese. So that's my message to you. And so my question to you is, if we're doing not so great a job at messaging on these things, then how can, we can add you to distribution lists, we can do whatever is the easiest, or other suggestions that you might have. I very much welcome them, because what we want to do is build that constituency for support for South Sudan, which is a larger, a separate issue in terms of advocacy for South Sudan in Washington and other places as well. With that, I am
one more. Okay. While we think about the second question, then what we need to do now is, so the first question is that, what ideas do you have about the best way a relationship can be forged between State Department or U.S. government in general and the South Sudanese in the diaspora? Anybody want to take that? Okay. Both?
First, I think it's important that we hire South Sudanese to go work in these, like the USID and back home. But I think we have a lot of educated South Sudanese that are wanting to go back and help, but that's finding a way of going back to help. And I think if you hire people from the U.S. that went to school here to understand human rights and democracy, they will better help the fellow South Sudanese back home. And then there wouldn't be that interest that South Sudanese are specific about. So they know that they're helpful based on their heart. Second, I think putting the team together, go at this South Sudanese from this form that we're on right now, because we can be united, we can understand what peace means. We can send a team here, the U.S. government can send a team of South Sudanese to go back home, to go talk to the people about peace, and not to direct side. I think that's one step that needs to be taken.
Okay, thank you, brother, both of you. So Moses, you were the second to raise your hand. Was it the first question or for the second one? Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
By the way, I go by how the sequence on the way you raise your hand. So if you raise your hand first, you go first, the second and the third. So I see you when you raise your hand. And make sure you introduce yourself when you are talking. So since we have not done the introduction.
Thank you, David. My name is Moses Tutt, for those of you who don't know me. I think in terms of the question of how the State Department can help in the diaspora community, I think listening to youth perspectives and or younger generations from the diaspora, just their recommendations, right? And then from maybe programming side of things, I don't know how it would look, but funding, let's say, potential grants, right? Little small grants, either maybe $500,000 up to whatever the extent could be, but there are a lot of South Sudanese who are doing things, right, all over the diaspora, who have nonprofits, who have for-profits, who have initiatives, community dialogues, community organizations going, but necessarily don't have the funding, the support system, the infrastructure, right, to maintain it. And as well as there's not as much communication within all these different organizations across the U.S., right? We really don't know of, oh, there's a doctor in Maine, there's the lawyer in Texas, there's this, that, right? How do we build a pipeline to assess and as well as to know that all these different South Sudanese do this way? So that's one aspect of building a better communication pipeline, right? And then infrastructure of capacity building as to funds, as to maybe technical skills, right? Maybe it is the funding, maybe from an advising standpoint, right? How do we bridge that resource gap, right, for these South Sudanese who traditionally, generationally, haven't had parents who know either English, who know the business world, who have gone to school, and we're the first ones to come about. Just recommendations there. Thank you.
Anyway.
Thank you, David. What I want to say is I would really like the U.S. government as represented by the State Department and the very, very important that we should understand what is peace from the perspective of common South Sudanese. A person who's out there wants to do what he needs to do just to be alive. That way we can position ourselves to be able to articulate the truth, because it is the truth that will deliver South Sudan from the current quagmire, political quagmire that we're creating for ourselves. We need to understand that the silence of guns does not necessarily deliver peace. We have to know that before the current war, there was peace. And therefore the issue is what propelled us into the current crisis. Because that's what will ultimately deliver us. The people of South Sudan were not distant, but dissatisfied with something. And we don't endeavor to talk to them and to find out what are the issues. Then I think we are not trying to solve the problem in the interest of the people. We might be helping the politicians, but we might be actually driving this country down the hill. So I think for the common South Sudanese, the issue is how can we deliver human security? Is the current peace process geared towards delivering human security? And if so, what is human security? And it's not just me saying this. These are concepts and issues that have been articulated by many people in the international community, including the United Nations. In terms of understanding what exactly is human security. The people of Southern Sudan want freedom from fear. The freedom from fear does not end when the guns go silent. If the guns only go silent in South Sudan and we don't have a system that is geared towards addressing or delivering freedom from fear to the people of South Sudan, then that's not necessarily the right process. We must begin to see whether it's actually geared towards doing that. And of course, freedom from fear means eliminating all forms of violence or threats to the safety of the people. And in fact, that's one of the issues that propelled the people to the war. To war because there was absence of security for the people of South Sudan. In many ways. The other form of human security is the freedom from want. That's a basic human necessity. Many of the people of South Sudan have not benefited from what is going on there. All the cash and all the money and resources that are being squandered. So, what is freedom of what for the common South Sudanese? We need to be able to know whether the situation or the current process is aimed at delivering that to the people of South Sudan. Every person needs the basic necessities of life to survive, whether it is in South Sudan or in the United States. The third thing is the freedom to live in dignity. Therefore, we would like all the people in the international community to gauge every process that is being done, whether it is geared towards addressing those issues for the people of South Sudan, because that's what will eventually deliver us and put us on the path to stability in South Sudan so that we can progress. Thank you.
Thank you. I saw a hand. Okay.
Yeah, my name is Daniel Achembe. Mine will be very short. One thing that the State Department can help South Sudanese American and South Sudanese in South Sudan. One is to help to implement the peace agreement that has been signed. In 2004, when President Bush sent Colin Powell, we went and talked to Dr. John Grant and Bashir. That was the genesis of peace agreement signed in 2005. As a South Sudanese American, I am not seeing the State Department now trying to fit through the implementation of peace agreement. That I am asking you, I am a citizen here, good citizen. So I'm asking my American government to help my South Sudanese people if an agreement signed and followed and being implemented, as they were talking about that, South Sudanese will be free and help themselves as one. The second is to help USIP to bring South Sudanese Americans together to speak one voice. And if we speak one voice here in the United States, we South Sudanese Americans have South Sudanese in South Sudan or in East Africa that listen to us on what we do to them. Thank you.
So we'll give basically the last part, answer to this question. We'll move to the second one. So we'll move to the second one. We'll come next.
Thank you very much, David. This question is very important. And I want to say the U.S. government has already started something that we have been longing for. A dialogue and a peace in South Sudan have been initiated sometime outside of people of South Sudan involved. This dialogue in the U.S. is unique in many ways. The people who are sitting here, it will be very difficult in South Sudan to bring them together like this. It will depend with where you are calling a meeting. Some people will not be going to other places based on their identities. But this is the great opportunity we have here in the United States to come together like this. It is unique because these people are gathering here, they are not political motivated. They are not dialoguing, they are not in dialogue to gain something. Because some of the dialogue that we carry on in the country, you don't know really, is it a genuine dialogue or somebody is involved in that dialogue because of fear? Or you involved in that dialogue because you need something out of it. I don't think these people are not spending their time here because when the peace comes in South Sudan, they want to go to South Sudan and be whatever in the government. I think they are here because they are concerned of what is happening. So a group like this can be engaged. And this is what is not been taking place in many peace that have been initiated in South Sudan. I want to recommend it that the dialogue, community dialogue, should continue. And also it should be extended to people in a refugee camp. I grew up in a refugee camp in Ethiopia, in Kenya. I know the life of refugees. I've been going back every year. I go and visit my South Sudanese people in Kabul. I felt that the refugees are the most forgotten people. There have been peace talk going on for many years. Nobody even cared to hear their voice. And these are the people who lost their loved one. We have millions of them in Uganda, in Ethiopia, in Sudan, in Congo. What do we expect, even though we have peace signed in South Sudan today, and millions of people are coming back who were not part of what has been discussed? Those people again will cause another war, and you cannot blame them. This U.S. community dialogue is supported. They can be able to convene people in a refugees camp to be part of it. Because I know the people in refugees camp cannot be convened by any party in South Sudan. It will be very difficult for the government to convene them, It will be very difficult even for IO to convince them, but a neutral group like this can be used to convince our people. We need peace. South Sudan needs peace. And South Sudan is like a car that is stuck. I live now in South Sudan. If my car is stuck in those bad roads, I need people to help me to fill it out. I cannot do it alone with my driver. South Sudan needs people that can bring them out of that conflict. If the US government is serious about what is happening in South Sudan, this group needs to be supported. For there is hope for this group. Thank you very much.
So Peter, can you just make it 30 seconds, please?
Yeah.
Second question? Okay.
My second question. Yeah, of course.
Answer my question with a question.
With a comment, yeah. Yeah, it's right, you brought it that you guys are not helping, especially the refugee of Southern Sudan in Sudan. We have a problem. Most of my people are the ones who are refugees in the White Nile. The Sudan government is not allowing any relief to take them to those refugees. And one of the conditions that was raised by the American government is that Sudan should allow the refugee delivery of a refugee item and cooperate with peace so that the sanction will be lifted on the Sudan. The USIP is not doing enough. All our money that we work here, we have to wire them to the refugees in Sudan. So I would advise you that either you take some diaspora and employ them as humanitarian delivery, or you allow organizations like Save the Children Front, Concern to go and work for the refugees of Southern Sudan in Sudan. Because if you look at the war that was being fought in Eritrea, most of the USIP were the one helping the non-governmental organization in the Eastern Sudan. This thing is not being provided to our Southern Sudanese in Sudan. And the US is not doing enough while we are taxpayers' money here. So either you work with us or employ some of us as capacity builders to go and work with the USIP in delivering humanitarian to the Sudanese refugees in Sudan. And thank you.
Thank you, Peter. So well, I'm going to do something here as a moderator. I took it from Susan. We need to hear from some of our sisters. And we also need to hear from some of the young South Sudanese who are here. In most cases, one of the things we found in the dialogue, the youth, they complained because they said that, oh, there is no division, my friend is a Nuer, my friend is a Equatorial. So they just sit there like, what is this? So this is so we'll give them opportunity, so this is your opportunity to share in a similar process. So I will say, encourage my sisters to come in and also make your voice heard, as well as the youth represented who are here. Okay.
To answer the question, or is this just?
It could be a question and a comment. It's just, I think you guys have been quiet for a very long time. So, by the way, the boss said to
The boss, let's be clear.
Hi, my name is Kuth Will. I think that, I guess to answer the question of, I guess, how can the U.S. government basically, what I think was.
How best can the State Department and the diaspora work together?
Yes. For my generation specifically, I think that we grew up within the American context of culture. And so because of that, we're stuck between two different cultures that kind of contrast and also complement each other. And most of the time is that we hear a lot about the conflict that's going on in our country, but we're somehow sort of removed because we also came here at a very young age, so we don't have the personal context of really what happened, or we just have glimpses of things, or we just remember either growing up in a refugee camp or just that we immigrated to the United States. I think that there could be a lot of work done to basically educate the younger people about what the U.S. government is doing in South Sudan, because we personally don't know. We just hear from news sources or from friends, or like I myself, I don't even have friends who work in, let's say, in the U.S. government, because we're not even old enough to be there yet. And so because of that, it's a lot of questions that we have, and I feel like there needs to be some sort of information pipeline, so that way we know how you are affecting us as a diaspora, but also people in our country as well. And there needs to be some type of communication created so that people here who have strengths in the United States, who are successful in what they do, and they're also from South Sudan, can also affect the generation there and be a tool in terms of bringing about peace, but also using their own stories to uplift and encourage the youth there to, you know, to do what they want to do and to be successful in this world, because we didn't grow up with role models ourselves, so we just have to create that from, I guess, from looking at certain things in media or just following someone that you feel is a mentor to you. And so I think that mentorship is really crucial here, because I myself have become a mentor by default, but I feel that I still have a lot to learn in terms of who I am as a woman, but also who I am in the context of being a South Sudanese woman.
Thank you. I think okay.
Hello everybody, my name is Abude, student athlete. Well, answering your question, I'm just going to say that the best way that you guys can help the youth basically is probably try to team up and have internship for younger generation that coming up that maybe want to involve in some things. Like, for example, myself, I want to major in international relations. Well, I'm in college now, second year, going to my second year. So like having an internship could help them develop like in a way that we trying to like figure out how can we help our country in the future. Because basically all these people right here at the end of the day might not be there, so it's going to be left in our hand. So we got to find a way of how to do things and all of that. And basically, we honestly don't want to go in the same route that you guys are going. So you guys been talking about differences, tribe, and all of that. I personally haven't experienced any of that because we are as young generation, like she said earlier, we came in the United States at a young age, so we have not really experienced like different tribes. So we have been all living together, doing things together. I'm a student athlete, so I play basketball. So playing basketball, you gotta bring a lot of people, different tribes and different, I don't know, from all over the place, and y'all just come together and play. Y'all gotta make it work somehow. So I just feel like we should try to make the same thing. As South Sudanese, we should stop difference ourselves, say I'm from this area, from that area. I think we should just stop doing that and just come together and try to find a way how to build our nation and just bring that nation up. It's such a young nation. We have a lot of talent that nobody has covered yet, but we do know that. As he's a basketball player as well, so trying to connect with all people, I mean, young generation that are trying to do something good for our country, but we are not being here. Like, nobody's hearing us, nobody trying to tell us what to do, so it's kind of hard. So I just feel like we should start looking into that, those young generation coming up.
Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Grace, and what I wanted to add was a comment for the first question as to what the government can do to aid the diaspora here. And one of my main concerns within our community here is the mental health, which I know that has been mentioned earlier. And I think we need to implement programs that help not only the people, the refugees, but to help them address trauma from their past, from 2013, from before then, about how to mourn, because I think that's one of, we were talking about social media earlier, but I don't think social media is a problem at all. It's just merely an instrument used to help them. They're not coping correctly, trying to project their feelings and learn from the past and trauma and depression and anxiety. So I think one of our main goals should be to address that issue in our community. However, the government can help in that way.
Thank you for that.
Known for our height. Basketball, we very tall. As you saw me walking out. South Sudan, like South Sudanese young, our youth are very tall. And we can see that we had four South Sudanese who entered the NBA draft. And I think I would like to comment about it, is just, we should look into that and start like a South Sudanese national team or something like that. And also about the visa, he mentioned, I'm one of the person who's struggling about it. I just graduated. I was supposed to, I have like offers from overseas and everything, but my problem is if I get out of the country, I can't come back. I'll get sent back right away because I came here with an F1 visa. I lost both of my parents. I had nobody that could take care of me. So I came here with a scholarship, and that's how I lived on from there until today. So a visa would be like a good thing. I don't know. I just want to appreciate everybody up here that did what they had to do for the country. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Miriam. I'm studying environmental policy at American University. And going off on the USID, before coming here, I worked with an NGO in South Sudan, and the thing I wanted to say was concerning like gender, more like incorporating gender into the projects. If you think about it, like in South Sudan, a scenario whereby like you go to the local or to the rural areas where the women are the ones who fetch water, who get firewood, all that. If I know for sure that USID has a similar project in Madagascar, I think, where they try and make the community benefit off of natural resources. And so if such a project can be done like in South Sudan, and more so for the women, because I feel that if you have a sort of livelihood, food security, you are less likely to, to take part in, conflict, because, you have that stability. And in 2017, I managed to be one of the youth who got the Mandela Washington Fellowship, which is a state department program, and I came here to US. And it was really beneficial in the sense that we were able to work with different organizations and learn from here. But the issue is with the State Department, I realized was that South Sudanese were only like 14 as compared to other countries like Nigeria, like we took like 100 people, or Kenya like 60. And if you think about it, South Sudan is desperately in need of that training to build a capacity. And so I feel that it's one of the things we need to incorporate, have more South Sudanese come over for these projects. Thank you.
To the question that was raised of how can the State Department help the diaspora, this question actually came in question when we had the skill transfer program with the US Congress. Diaspora has a lot of skills to offer. They are well educated. The only thing that was not there was a system in place to be able to help transfer all this skill back to South Sudan. We have doctors, we have engineers, we have scientists, we have politicians, and we have media expert groups. So if the State Department wanted to be able to help the diaspora, should also identify those areas of concern to the South Sudanese and the diaspora affairs. I've had managed to cover nearly 380 events of the diaspora, and there's so much energy in the community that is not given a chance for United States to actually see. So engaging South Sudanese locally can also help boost relationship between the U.S. government and the South Sudanese community in the diaspora.
American Friends of the Episcopal Church in Sudan has held a conference in Denver, bringing together a number of Episcopalian South Sudanese. And we were very pleased that at that meeting a decision was made by those who were in attendance to try to pull together a diaspora group for dialogue. And there is a conference that is scheduled for August 30 through September 2 that will take place in Lexington, Virginia. Of that, those who have been involved in that dialogue, we're very excited about it and hope that it will be fruitful. I wanted to make sure we mentioned that was expected to happen. Thank you.
Dr. Isaac Yang is a representative of SCLMIO in Washington, D.C. And Isaac is also a member of the diaspora. So Dr. Isaac, I'll recognize you for 5 minutes. Give me a second.
Thank you, David. You guys doing okay? I really want to thank the group that put together the program. I know, how difficult it can be. David, Susan, all of the group that joined us today. Thank you for doing this. When I get together with my, let me also acknowledge Ambassador Honorable Ambassador Page. Thank you, Senator, for coming. When I make comments, in a group like this, there's something I always say, and that is the reason why most of what's happening is happening in our country. There's fear that I usually refer to as of unknown. People are afraid of each other. So before I come to my 5 minutes, let me do something that I don't want to do, that is to give instruction. My background is teaching. I know when you give instruction, no one follows. But let's if you on Twitter, why don't you do fear factor South Sudan? Make a hashtag. And what I would like to do with the hashtag is if you can go on there and kind of say what fear do you have, as a South Sudanese, as a young person, as a leader, as a supporter, as a friend of South Sudan. What are the fears that you have? Because I think when people hear South Sudan, they think of many different tribes, which is the case for one tribes. But how much do these tribes know each other? This is the question. For me, I would also get a chance to be with many other people that are not the same tribes as I was. So I was exposed to all the people, all our friends. But it was interesting back in 2012 when we did a peace program with the former John Lake, and we come together as people from John Lake, and we go. In that state alone, we have 11 different tribes. And even though I had this idea that I was well exposed, and I know our people, there was at least 4 problems that I didn't hear about. For example, the sheep, I know the case. About something, the sheep in here. So these are 4 tribes within the state that I never had anything about. As a matter of fact, I never met anybody from those tribes. So something striking happened when we were there. Someone who met people from Mule for the first time, was like, I didn't know that Mule were people, because the idea that you get this type is that, okay, this person comes from Chile, this person comes from Bali, this person comes from Mule. So when we have a program like this, I think the person that we need to think about as leaders or as supporters or working group is how much knowledge we would have from each other. So the fear that we have is, I don't know why I'm afraid, but I'm afraid. Sometimes we do know why you're afraid of someone, but you don't know what would constitute that, that fear. So I want to bring up an analogy with respect to this, that may set the point of that. This came up in one of the meetings and someone repeated, so I thought it was a good thing to repeat. And that is 3 different people came together, young people. I know Larry, you got athlete, you're entertainer, you're actress. So what don't we know as leaders that the young people can know or can share with us in the stage of the conference that we can take and use to kind of bring us together? So in our region, in our country, the 3 regions, there's Upper Nile, there's Bargazal, and there's Pretoria. So someone say, one time I think this might not have actually happened, but I love it a lot and I want to share. So they say these 3 students from these 3 different regions came to college and they happened to be roommates. So they shared the room. The stereotype that they came with is that one person from this Upper Nile, is a warrior, so they would pay you for just no reason. Another person from Bargazal is they eat people. So if you sleep, you're gonna wake up tomorrow. And so there's another person from they say they perform magic. So if you go sleep, you're gonna wake up the next morning. So they came together and they, the first time they introduced themselves, they know the regions and where they come from. They didn't go sleep that night, they all stay up. So they did for the second night. So the third night, it became very difficult for them to sleep. So they fall asleep. And when they fall asleep, they woke up in the morning, they were all still there. So they look at each other and they realize that maybe what I was told or what people are talking about really is so true. So in a sense, they came up with a perspective or an idea of what the other person is, and then it turns out that the other person is not what they thought they were. So this fear, in my opinion, is what not only continue the conflict, but this is exactly what I think in the diaspora keep people apart. If I know David is not my tribe. I know fear of David. I know Susan of my tribe. Ambassador of my tribe. So if I know them, the feeling that I have about them, the feeling I have for them, is that they do not harm me. So the question that I want us to take, especially with this group, is what can we do to alleviate this fear that we have of each other, the fear of each other. But I call it the fear of the unknown because you're afraid of this person, but you don't know why you're afraid of it. So how can we get that? So the last part that I want to make a statement from the perspective of the political landscape in our country is the challenge that we have because we do not. I don't want to say we do not get the support, but I think the support that we get, in my opinion, is not sufficient for the problem to be solved. And I say this to not only challenge ourselves, our leaders here, but also the working group, the people that support South Sudan state in the peace process. The reason I say this is because if you go back, this point was brought up earlier, you go back to 2005 when the peace agreement was signed that actually was responsible for the independence of South Sudan. Something interesting happened. The evangelicals that were working towards South Sudan, the people that were advocating for South Sudan, worked very, very hard to the point that the administration of the time did not only get involved, but they decided to take the lead. So in my opinion, when I lead you guys in this town, I feel like more can be done. I know a lot of work teams that people are working, but I think there's a difference between being involved and taking the lead. I always go back to that time. If President Bush just said that we are going to get involved, we're not going to do anything drastic, it's very unlikely that we would have a country called South Sudan today. So if we really want this peace agreement to succeed, because I can't guarantee right now, this peace agreement failed, even this party will fail. I know it's a bad thing to say, but our opinions and perspectives are connected with what's happening back home. So if we want to look at this as a top-down approach, in order for the bottom levels of this, I wouldn't call them small initiative, but I know they're not small. For them to succeed, there has to be a sincere hope this peace agreement is going to hold. If you're trying to get my perspective as SPLMI representative, I would say this peace agreement is not going to hold. Because as we speak, the chairman of the SPLMI is going to be news or not to you, is under house arrest, and he's not allowed to speak to the media. So here we expect him to implement the peace agreement as a prisoner. And when I look around, there's no one to say anything. So whether, I know it's political, I'm not going to talk about that. But it's connected to the big picture of how do we solve the problem. If we say, let IGA do what it's doing, we're going to find ourselves maybe with another conflict and with another conflict. Because what happened in 2016 was the failure of the mediation of IGA. Because they were told that things that need to be done were not done. They say, you go anyway. They are doing it again now. People say that things that need to be done, so that 2016 going to happen again needs to be done. They are passive. And so, as this is to the policy of people here. The question of the policy of Muslim people. The question that we need to ask now is this peace agreement going to suffer the fate of the peace agreement of 2016? And if so, what are we doing about it? There's something to think about. So for me, I think this initiative that we have here needs to be more about what are the weaknesses that prevent us to come together. And this begin by looking at the bigger picture that will tomorrow come again and maybe tear this group apart. We don't want that. I think this is a good initiative. I'll go and support Ambassador Smith, his idea and the idea that came up earlier that when these initiatives are I don't want to say combined, but when they complement each other, I think they are more powerful as opposed to having many projects like this. Because most of when I used to be civil society leader, the first organization of this kind that we found, that I co-founded, was the Coalition of Advocates for South Sudan. Most of you came to the conferences and most of these same topics keep coming up. So the question becomes, how can we take, the CAS, this dialogue with South Sudan network for peace and reconciliation that will have a meeting on in Lexington on August 31st. So I think as leaders, and this is and also to Ambassador and also to Honorable Durham is how do we contribute to all of this coming together? I mean, all of this I'm connected with, but I'm not sure whether all the people, leadership at all the level I'm connected with, because I know our people will call me, should I go to this? I know it's my job, but the mentality we have is that if Ambassador Tanya is not supporting it, and I support the government, I'm not going to go to that, because you know what, I'm going to be seen as, maybe an opposition or rebel, what have you. But again, if we want to take this level away from where we want to go, this has to change. And I think this started by thinking as a whole team, as team, and how can we bring this together. So if you don't mind, just say, I know my time is supposed to be up, but I think I should have about 4 more minutes, correct? I want to read something. This came up from the press conference of CAS. And I think, once I read it, I'm going to be finished in just 1 minute. I believe you will understand that South Sudanese, all of us want the same thing, whether you are in opposition or government, we want the same thing. And I think if we agree that we want the same thing, the question becomes, if President says it, why doesn't the ambassador believe it? Or if the ambassador says, well, I don't agree, because if we want the same thing, then there should be an agreement that, hey, even if the leader, whether the leaders agree with it, then we see what happens. Even the bread of price can overthrow somebody. So if we agree, something can happen. So this was by, there was about 200 leaders at that meeting. So it's a much more bigger meeting. I think you would agree with me now. So just give me a second. So this was the vision. They say this should be the vision for South Sudan. They say South Sudan is a reconciled, unified, and stable country, proud of its diversity, as represented by its 64 tribes, and enjoying equality, peace, and harmony. The government of South Sudan is a democratic federal government whose powers are vested by a permanent citizen-informed constitution, and whose leaders are qualified and committed to serve the people of South Sudan, and whose systems are efficient, transparent, and free of corruption. The people of South Sudan are educated and healthy, and they enjoy all freedoms, protection, justice, accountability, and the rule of law, and prosperity through the effective management of country's resources and the empowerment of its people to realize their unlimited potential. So a vision, as we all know, is a state of hope. This is what I hope South Sudan to become. This is one day, this is like what we say, when this kid won the basketball play, he said, one day when I grow up, I want to be president, I want to be a diplomat. So what, when I read this, I actually frame this, I look at this all the time in my office. This is possible only if we all agree to it. And I think there's another single person in this room that will say that I don't want a country like that. If this is the country that we hope to see, and then what prevents us from working all together to make sure that we see that? Is the question that I'm going to leave to you. I know I have 1 more minute left, but I'm just going to leave that. So if there's questions later, I can use that to kind of go back.
Thank you so much.
So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Isaac. You donated your time to be with us, and I think it was worth it for you to come and share with us since you speak on behalf of so many. You are one of the diaspora. At this time, before it goes back to Susan, I would like to give South Sudan ambassador to Washington, Philip Dada, an opportunity. You have listened, you have seen how we have discussed as community leaders, women, youth, and these are the people who are presenting what have you learned, what do you add on, what can you tell State Department, USIP, and the entire USIP working group. It's the opportunities.
Thank you, David, for giving me this opportunity. I actually came here prepared more listen and talk. And I must confess that listening to you all across the board has been an eye-opener and actually a very good experience to see that South Sudanese are also capable of really sitting together, and talking about their own issues in ways that are frank and in ways that someone might not expect. That's if you are so much influenced by the media, you think that South Sudanese can hear just on each other's stories. So I want to thank you for this opportunity. This morning, when I was doing one of my usual morning runs, I came across this writing that was put not very far from my neighborhood. And it was written by someone who just went out and said, regardless of where you come from, regardless of the religion that you worship, the race, the ethnicity that you come from, which nation you come from, you are welcome to this neighborhood. And this is maybe the 14th time that I've seen that, and every time I walk across that, I stop and read that same statement almost like every day, and I read it today this morning. The owner of that house didn't have to come out and put out a statement like that, because he goes on his responsibility. He's not allowed to do it. He's just one person who's living in a certain neighborhood. But he felt that he has a duty. I don't know of what background he is, but certainly he's an American, maybe from South Sudan or from Latin America or from where, but to be his responsibility to feel that whoever is here in that neighborhood is welcome. And I think coming from a society that's as divided as South Sudan, and sometimes that feels like unwelcoming and so on, those were really very touching words for me. And today when I thought about coming to be part of this today, this occasion, and this event, it took me back to the time that, David Dow and the group, sorry for confusing with John Dow because I was a little bit earlier. There's something with Dow which is very positive. I don't know, it's just that I've already stopped giving children, but maybe my next would have been Dow, They are very positive thinking and very positive things in them. I was working with John Dow, and I think some of you know about John Dow, what the John Dow Foundation was with him, some great friends in America. When David Dow came to the office, the embassy, and shared with me this novel idea of trying to have this dialogue among South Sudanese to try to find out what the problems are in that culture. I was immediately on board, and as a testimony, Sarah is one of our assets in the South Sudan embassy, who was immediately on board. And I can testify today that you have other 4 people from the embassy. So maybe I think the presence of these people here shows that we really fully support this initiative that you have taken. Because before we became part of the government, we were individuals. And before we became part of the different groupings that are in South Sudan, we were also individuals. And we joined it out of our own way, whether you were part of one party or the other, and so on and so forth. And I always have this thinking, I don't know if I might be mistaken, but I think, you know, I can say it with a lot of confidence because Honorable Atem said it a little bit earlier, that I think you, the South Sudanese who are here in the United States, are in a very unique position because first, the majority of you are educated and you are exposed. And you are exposed to this very diverse culture that brings people from all over the world. And I think some of us who might not have been exposed to this type of culture might be excused if we make any damning reports. But what is becoming so painful for all of us is that when we make mistakes back at home, and then you also retreat and join us in making and in magnifying those mistakes, then the question that begs itself is, so what have we gained? Societies, including the United States, have their own challenges. I think you have been here. You've seen, you know, we this month celebrated 243 years of the independence of the United States. But still there are problems in this country. But I think the biggest decision that the citizens of the United States and the government have taken is that not every controversy should be solved through violence. And especially when you use your ethnic background to try to engage in things that might not necessarily help us in South Sudan. So I think we have to change that way of thinking. And that's why always when I look at, you know, brilliant young people like David, and I look at this room, it gives me hope because I think this diaspora is an asset, and it should be rightly used so as an asset. And maybe if you have not made use of that before, then it's time to use it now. You know, there were very positive stories here before how we came together for the referendum and so on and so on. It's always a human tendency to move with the crowd. When you see that a big number of people are just walking, then you just follow. And of course, if it's a success, you turn your chest and say, this is us. But sometimes when you're encountered with failure, that's when you start to say that, whose fault is this? This is the ambassador because he's working for the government. This is David Dow because he has some money but he doesn't want to share it with us so that we can address issues like that and so on. Excuses are always there. And by the way, South Sudan is not the present administration in the government or as government of South Sudan. South Sudan is bigger than that. This administration, one day will go and another one will come. So if you're looking at South Sudan, you also look at what you can be able to contribute in whatever capacity that you have. It's not up to me and you just walk away and say, yeah, today it's because the ambassador is not doing what I think he should be doing. Let me do whatever I have in my power, including social media, to tear this country apart. So, as I said in the beginning, I don't want to take much of your time. I am really very humbled by the presence of all of you here and the positive contribution that you are making. it really gives me hope. And I challenge you that maybe this is an opportunity, that if we, the crowd, have done something which is wrong in South Sudan, you, the selected, not selected by anybody else, but selected by your presence here, by your effort, by whatever you have done here in the US, should take advantage of what is here and try to replicate it home. Maybe we, the crowd, will come and find and also follow you, the minority. Thank you very much.
David, are you going to allow those who Zoom in? Because somebody sent me a question to share.
I think we'll have an opportunity for people to continue informal conversation after this. But Ambassador, thank you. Dr. Isaac, thank you. I have two tasks now. First is to say a number of thank yous, and then the second is to move us to the next phase, which is an informal reception where we can continue the dialogue and the conversation. So let me first thank those who are close to USIP, and Nicoletta, who's over there, and Aileen, and Nick, who's not in the room, but who have really helped to drive this forward. Let me thank David for coming to us with the idea and continuing to work with us. Our colleagues at the Department of State for being here today and for supporting this. And all of those from the working group who have come to listen, and I think to show the continued commitment that people feel to South Sudan. And most importantly, thank you to all of you for sharing your stories today and for taking the initiative to lead and to step away from the fear that has been talked about today, to put the sign on your lawn and to make a signal when others aren't making the signal. We at USIP say that peace is possible. It's not easy, but it is possible, and it starts with these small steps that start to add up together. And I'm always humbled by the ability of South Sudanese to articulate a very clear vision and to know themselves and to challenge themselves to know each other. And I think the world has a lot to learn from that, and we're missing that at the moment because so much of that focus is inside of the country. So I want to assure you that we are here to continue to walk with you as you do that, to help you provide the space at the very least for you to continue to tell your stories and to really celebrate with you on these really important steps. Peace happens in small ways, and we have to take a moment and pause and celebrate those when they start to move forward. So let me close with a thank you to everybody and invite everybody to share an applause for all those who've been here. There are refreshments and snacks in the room just out there, so please join us and stay and have some